Key Digital, the experts in digital audio visual and control systems.
Hello and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us today. I'm going to talk to you about what has been Key Digital's bread and butter product category for the past 2 decades. That's our matrix switchers, specifically talking to you today about our HDMI, video, and audio matrix switchers, Kdms 4x4G and Kdms 8x8G. Now, if you're not familiar with what a matrix switcher can do for you, your applications, and your customers, you want to use a matrix switcher anytime that you have multiple video sources and multiple video displays. So in the past, we've used splitters when you have one source to multiple displays. We've used switchers when you have multiple sources to a single display, and the matrix really combines that. You could have multiple sources going to multiple displays at any time and in any configuration you'd like. Okay, you could do that routing. And the benefit is that you're now able to send any of those connected sources to those displays with just a single wire to that display, whether it be an HDMI cable or perhaps using one of our TX, RX extender sets, just a single wire. And so you're looking at using matrix switchers in residential applications, in commercial applications. We're going to show some of those applications here. And the benefit is that you don't have to have that dedicated set of sources for each and every display. You don't have to have this media server, laptop, visualizer, document camera at every single display. Instead, by going through the matrix, you could send those sources to any of your displays at any time and in any combination, as I mentioned. So here are the Kdms 4x4 and Kdms 8x8G. Try to keep the nomenclature simple, of course. MS, matrix switcher, 4 in, 4 out, or 8 in, 8 out, and G stands for the 18 gigabit per second bandwidth support of these, our latest and greatest HDMI matrix switching devices. Now, whenever you have more than 8x8, that's typically when we go with AV over IP, and you've probably already viewed that video here in our IAVC sales course by now. But when you have less than 8 in, 8 out, these are fantastic ways to do it because they're extremely cost effective. And this technology is uncompressed. So when you go over a network, of course, if you have 4K resolutions that could be at 10 gigabits per second or 18 gigabits per second, in order to go into the network, you, of course, must compress that. If you're sending it over a 1 gig network switch, you're looking at a 10-to-1 or 18-to-1 compression. This is just a trade-off in technology these days, right? So you have to consider that. But these matrix switchers are HDMI in, HDMI out, no compression whatsoever. So it makes it really fantastic for those image sensitive type applications. There's zero latency as well. These products give you independent audio and video matrix switching, which we'll talk a little more about. They're HDCP 2.2 and now 2.3 even compliant. They have our full buffer technology, EDI control, HDCP authentication, and that TMDS reclocking that you've probably heard more about through our technical trainings and our digital video fundamental courses. They're IP controllable, RS and IR as well, but because they're IP controllable, they are app ready, of course. So let's look a little more at that independent audio and video routing capabilities and how those can meet your applications. So here we're showing a application like a ballroom, a boardroom, right? Where this is more of a commercial application. A lot of times folks want to use the audio outputs as a sort of input audio de-embedding. So you can have the 4 audio or 4 HDMI sources or on the 4x4G, or 8 HDMI sources on the MS 8x8G feed in, and you can use those 4 or 8 audio outputs almost as input audio de-embedding, and they'll stay put. If you're not sending the command to switch both video and audio, and you're not sending the command to switch audio only, then audio stays put, right? So you could use the video only switching command. You could send whatever desired source to any of those 4 displays, and now we're taking the audio output there, feeding this mixer, be it analog or digital, like a DSP mixer, and then feeding the amplifier, and now you could have that mix of all 4 audio sources for that kind of ballroom, room combined, boardroom applications. Similarly, here we have a residential installation. And maybe I shouldn't say similarly, because this is actually the opposite, right? In residential, you typically have just a single display in a room, and whatever you're viewing on display, you typically want to listen to it through your distributed audio system, perhaps your in-ceiling speakers, for example. So here we show a multi-zone audio amplification distribution system, and what you could do is just set up the system so that multi-zone audio system, for zone 1, it's always just selecting source 1. Zone 2 is always selecting source 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4. And by using the video and audio switching command together, which is our standard matrix command actually, because most applications are wanting the video and audio together. So that same matrix switching command that you've always used for Key Digital, that's what this does. Video and audio will follow together. So now whenever in zone 1, you watch the Apple TV, you're also going to, through the matrix system, be feeding the Apple TV's audio into your multi-zone system. And, it's not just what command you send, right? We've had plenty of applications in churches, for example, house of worship, where there's an operator at the matrix. And sometimes they're not doing software. Sometimes they're not even using our Key Digital management software or the free Key Digital app, although those are perfect software solutions for that kind of low budget application, right? But we do have a command that can be set through Key Digital management software or through your standard terminal. Send that command, SPC, FCM, so it's front control mode. Value 0 will give you audio and video together whenever you push those buttons. 1 will switch video only, and 2 will switch audio only, respective to that list that we see there from top to bottom. And so by setting that, now those front buttons will have a specific usage to just switch together, video only or audio only. So what does it look like in the Key Digital management software? You could do things like adjust your E to handshake. You can turn on and off the hot plug detection in debug mode. Very important for your end user interface, you have your input and output naming as well, and even your device naming, so that if you did have multiple matrix switchers in your single job site, when the Key Digital app scans the network, it will show you the various device names. So it gives you here, very user friendly. They don't have to know what is output 1, 2, 3, 4, what is input 1, 2, 3, 4. The naming is right there as set in the Key Digital management software. And this lives in the matrix itself. It's not living in the iPad. So the iPad scans and it finds the matrix and it parses that information from it, so that you don't have to set this up in each and every iOS device that's controlling it, right? The device parses and pulls this information in. And we do see those gray buttons along the bottom there, where you can either use the app as a video and audio switching together, or video only, or audio only. And through the app, and now through the Key Digital management software, we also have preset control, where you can route your system as desired, and you could create a preset out of that, so that by recalling that preset that you've saved in the app, that does live in the app, by by pressing that preset recall button, now the system is configured a specific way with video and audio routed as set in the time that you have set that preset. So take a look at these system design applications, some common uses for the MS 4x4G and MS 8x8G, including, like we mentioned earlier, a ballroom or room combined system. And this truly just has a little bit of everything in there. So, you know, you're going to be most effective selling key digital systems when you are not just looking at a system as a single piece, right? That's not a system. Integrations, AV systems integration is all these pieces that come together. The user can, in the West room or the East room, could plug in on our wall plate interface. That is sent over HD-base-T to an input of the matrix. East and West also have our wireless presentation options. There's a digital signage player so that the monitors could be used to say, hey, make sure after your event, you come into the bar restaurant in the hotel to make sure that you are taking advantage of today's specials, et cetera, et cetera. Now, in this system, they even are adding audio plugins so that a DJ could come in, for example. Maybe it's not a corporate event, maybe it's a wedding. There's background music that feeds the audio system. And we're showing here some third-party devices, of course, through the background music, the audio DSP, and the amplification from our partners. Now, MS 4x4G and MS 8x8G have HDMI in and HDMI out. So if you need to go long runs to the projectors or displays, you add our extenders. We have a variety of extenders there. We're going to show some more details there for you on what extenders to select. Maybe it's due to distance, or maybe you have some specific resolution requirements at each of your displays or projectors. And of course, this is all tied together, the end user interface, with our Compass Control Pro system, so that not only can I control the AV routing, I can also control this audio DSP, turn on and off the displays, the projectors, create, you know, loads of combinations. Single button press, turn the whole thing on. Single button press, turn off the West or East room. Configure it for a wedding. Configure it for a party with a DJ. Configure it for a corporate event. Now here we have a multi-purpose gymnasium, right? And just like before, surrounding it with some of the other products we've taught you about here, including our single gang wall plate, EX-WPS-TX, very popular device right now. Single gang, 2x1 switcher with HDMI and USB-C as the inputs, really fantastic. You know, in this gymnasium, they've got 4 flat panel displays, large screens. They've also got a very large projection screen. And they're feeding 4 of the 8 outputs into our multi-viewer, MLV 4x2 Pro. And so now that multi-viewer can show a combination of just about everything. And you almost complete, you know, this job is actually, we show football images here, but this reminds me a lot of a project that we did previously in a private high school. And the gymnasium is used for basketball games, right? And so you could show the game broadcast. You can have the scoreboard there. Perhaps you have a digital scoreboard, as we show in the top left. You could use your signage player to add the logo of the school in this application's case, right? And you could even cast wirelessly with our BYOD 4K. And finally here, I alluded to this a moment ago, which extender should you use? Well, you know, matrix switchers, the traditional HDMI matrix switchers, they do not do downscaling. Now remember, AV over IP system, 822s, 922s, 1022s do have that capability, right? Because there's a video processor built in, but these traditional matrices, they do not. So now you can complement the MS 4x4G or the MS 8x8G with our EX18G extenders, which you may know have 4K to 1080p down convert feature. And there are some competitors that do this now in their matrix switchers, but you have to pay for that feature as a whole if you buy those products, and they're not cheap. Meanwhile, Key Digital, where we have a full solution of AV connectivity, we're able to do this on the EX18Gs. And what does that mean for you? You could add this feature where you need it, just where you need it. So for example, you could now send 4K resolution into the system from all your video sources. And if they've got one of those legacy displays, maybe they have a plasma that they paid thousands and thousands of dollars for, maybe they have specific furniture that they just don't want to get rid of, you can now send that 4K resolution to that 1080p display, have that signal, no problem whatsoever on the 1080p, on the 4K, no problem using EX18G. And we have a few other devices as well that have that 4K to 1080p down convert feature. So if that is something you need, or perhaps you need a full system design, then we invite you to please reach out to sales@keydigital.com and talk to our team. We're really excited to work with you on your upcoming applications, and I think you'll really be able to see the value presented by these HDMI matrix systems.